genuinely, who was in the writing room this season? They literally could not have ended the season off in a worse way. But before we get into that, I will give this season its flowers for what it did right. Well, not this season, the show.
Yo, here comes A-Train. What? I'm right here, buddy. Over here.
All right, let's talk about A-Train. A-Train's character development is probably one of the best things to come from this season. It already was good, considering he realized that Vought and Homelander didn't really care about him or respect him. But this season, and towards the end of last season, you could see he decided to become the person he used to claim he was to his family, actually being a hero. It's a pretty good parallel to the Deep, the man who never actually took accountability for his actions ever. But A-Train's death scene was very well written, considering they did the callback to Huey's origin story, and also they highlighted the focal point of the season, in my opinion, which was Homelander's weak mental and short temper. He's always had it, but it got extremely drastic this season. Speaking of Homelander, he probably is the best thing to come from this series as a whole. His weak mental state and short temper what actually made him scary. The entire series was essentially everybody trying to figure out how to disarm him as a ticking time bomb. Season 5 is when that time bomb actually went off.
Oh, please suck your dick, please.
Kinda. But we'll get into that later. I just wanted to say that Anthony Starr's Homelander is one of the best acting performances I've ever seen. Basically turned an unknown comic book villain into a household name, and I see his face on memes all the time. So yeah, shout out to him. Also, a big shout out to Valerie Curry as a Firecracker in that Perspective episode. She was subtly showing her true feelings while trying to convince others that Homelander's a god. I showed some real acting range, not gonna lie, she was in her bag. Also found out she's in one of my favorite games of all time, Detroit Become Human. So I already knew she was like that, but still. Shout out to her. Another thing they did good this season was the connection to current politics somehow. It was recorded 2 years ago, but somehow Homelander getting a message from an angel telling him he's God, and Trump posting an AI image as him as a doctor, if you want to call it that. But also Trump's golden statue being put up the same week as Homelander's golden statue inside the Democratic Church of America. They were on timing. It was so crazy that the director had to come out and say something about how close the things were related. The Starlighter camps as well, that's a parallel to the camps that they were making for the deportees. It's crazy stuff going on in this country, but before I get too political, let's get to the actual purpose of the video. Again, who the fuck was in the writers' room this season, bro? Has to be one of the most inconsistent and unnecessarily rushed final seasons to a show I've ever watched in my life. They literally could have put any fan of the series in the writers' room, and I bet they would have cooked up something a little bit more cohesive and or actually used the context of the previous seasons to come to a conclusion. The season after episode 3 was a completely different show than the one I've been watching over the past couple of years, but nonetheless, let's get into it. The first problem with the storytelling in the show is they do not give enough power scaling clarity. Some soups are just bulletproof and durable, and then some soups just aren't. MM is able to box with certain soups, and he couldn't even dare touch Homelander if he tried. But I feel like they're just not clear enough with anything, especially this season. And the first example I want to get into with that is Starlight. Did she go see Ra's al Ghul in between season 4 and 5? She was beating the fuck out of people she should have never had more hands in. The only person she ever dog walked out the entire series was Firecracker, who also hasn't won any fights. But all of a sudden she was cooking Dog Knot and the Deep in hand to hand. Not too bad about it, but it definitely was surprising to see. But her battle IQ, still questionable, to be honest, because without knowledge that the ocean doesn't like the deep, why in the final battle would you fly over a city full of electricity to a beach? And also, why not just drop him anywhere and then just fly back? Because what is the deep gonna do? There's no water in the city. You can't get back to the White House fast. Speaking of the deep, how did he kill the new Black Noir, who was literally bulletproof with a measly knife and a cord? Not to mention this Black Noir can fly, and I kind of assumed he was super strength, but they don't really tell nobody who's strong and who's not. Another problem I have with the show, but it's implied that this Black Noir is strong and can fly, but he chose not to fly and just lose in a strength battle to the Deep, the fish man. It doesn't make sense. It does not make sense. Next is the most egregious case and my biggest issue with this season slash show in general. Homelander's powers. What are they doing? Start with his hearing, his super hearing in quotation marks, because if they actually used the power how it's supposedly used, the boys would have been dead seasons ago. But also, this season specifically, the most egregious case was the V1 scene. They're literally talking in the trees 50 feet away max, watching Soldier Boy give Homelander the V1, and yet Homelander just grabs V1, crashes out, and shoots lasers in the sky, and episode ends. And next episode just starts with the boys back at the school or the library in one piece. How did they get there unscathed? Because literally an episode later in the same library, Homelander hears Frenchie knock on a wall, proceeds to use Soooooo to appear in front of him in seconds, but 5 to 6 people in a forest not far away at all talking can just make a getaway with no explanation. Okay, sure. I know Butcher told them to run and all that, but like, we're running from Homelander. Let's be real. It's not like he didn't hear them talking while they did the whole V1 exchange. It's all just dumb. Let's get into Homelander's speed, actually, because that's the next crazy thing. Because beginning of season 1, we see Homelander easily keeping up with A-Train, a character nobody else can keep up with yet. While in the Oval Office, his movement speed and attempts to fly had to be like Huey level max. Like, Butcher was catching him mid-jump with his technical, like, and y'all watching might be like, oh, he needs some momentum before he can reach max movement speed. And all I'd say is what happened to Frenchie. Flash step, perception blitz, shade, Soooooo, like off one noise. No one else in that office was ever shown to move that fast ever. Oh well, what about his flight speed? He might need some momentum for that, right? He made Timu, Elon Musk, and Astronaut return to the office in 2 seconds in the same episode. So why was he so slow in the Oval Office? Why did he let them get a Kamiko laser off instead of just flying away? How was anybody able to hold him in place there? Literally 2 seasons ago. With a stronger group, arguably. They had Temp v Butcher, Temp v Huey, and Soldier Boy, and he was held down for less time and flew away and escaped before Soldier Boy's D-Soup laser even went off. Why do we repeat a fight from 2 seasons ago as our final solution with the weaker looking Homelander? Like, none of this makes any fucking sense. The battle IQ and narrative flow were just like not there at all. However, I don't even think that's like the most egregious case of bad power scaling for Homelander, surprisingly. His fucking eye lasers, man. I don't even know if I should call them lasers at this point. Like, they need to just pick a point and keep it. I was under the impression they were lethal to humans and damaging, but not the end of the world to like most soups, with at least bulletproof durability, which I was okay with. Then this happened, and I was okay with that. I was fine with it until we stepped in the Oval Office. How is she eating lasers now? It doesn't make any sense. You can't even grant her the fact that the radiation made her more durable. 1, because it didn't even do that for Soldier Boy, and 2, maybe 2 or 3 scenes ago, she was being held back by simple gunfire. Like, the bullets were piercing her. If it was a durability boost, she would have probably been bulletproof at that point. Like, that's one of the craziest mistakes they made this season. Like how are you not consistent from episode 1 to 8 in an 8 episode season? It's not that hard. I can grant the writers a little bit of grace when it comes to power scaling, because it might be difficult to tell the story you want to tell if you make people too strong. Only problem here is the storyline went fucking nowhere really fast, so it's a little hard for me to grant any grace to the boys' writers. Like, to me, the overall goal in the boys is to get back for MM, Butcher, and Huey. A-Train made a turnaround, so that goal was reached for the most part with Huey. MM kind of just stopped caring about the Soldier Boy thing at some point, not letting revenge consume him, which is like part of his character arc, but he's not like Butcher. And Butcher needed to kill Homelander, like he was gonna die about it. The main issue here was that Homelander was a unit, so Butcher's goal was the hardest to achieve, and the boys came up with multiple ways to succeed in this goal. For one, they had Soldier Boy's laser and like Temp V, then they had the soup killing disease, and then they had Ryan. Season 5 basically just was like, we'll give you the worst possible versions of all 3 of these storylines. So let's get into the poor writing choices here. Ryan was literally the focal point of season 2 because he is stated to be the only one able to rival Homelander's power as he ages. Yet, as he ages this season and supposedly gets stronger, they just let Butcher tell him he's been a suicide mission the whole time instead of just recruiting him to be a part of their plans this season. Although he's not as strong as Homelander, having like an early version of Homelander around would have been good, but nah, let's just piss him off so he can vanish all season to the last episode. I would have much rather Ryan's 1v1 be in the last episode. Like, he can still lose the way he did the first time, but like, it'd been better if he was present this season and was part of the boys, like helping them carry out their schemes and missions, rather than just like showing up, losing, and then showing up again for the double team. Like, I feel like he was wasted super crazily for somebody who was super important for 2 whole seasons. His character arc just did not seem complete. Now addressing the laser storyline, like, they already did this, and better, in my opinion. If this truly how they wanted to end the story, they could have ended in season 3, because narratively, like I said before, Temp V, Butcher, and Huey, and Soldier Boy should be able to hold Homelander in place longer than just Ryan and Soup Butcher. Regardless, this is what they went with. I mean, narratively, it was kind of clear that after V1 was introduced that Homelander was going to get his hands on something, but the way that they did it was pretty stupid. When Soldier was first released, he was looking around for Crimson Countess, his partner from back in the day he was in love with and that he was convinced loved him. I mean, that wasn't the case, but it's irrelevant. What is irrelevant is that he made 0 mention of Stormfront. So this sudden obsession and love for her this season just seems like fabricated for the sake of plot. Like, yeah, you can say he might have loved her as well at some point, but to make that the big plot point that makes him hand over the V1 to Homelander, I'm not hearing it. Not at all. That storyline aside, how the fuck did we just get a radiation machine in the library overnight? And she just pulled that out of his ass, unless I'm missing something. They could have stated that it was a plan B earlier on in the season and it would have made more sense, but a large-scale radiation chamber just spawning out of nowhere made no sense to me and threw me off. And lastly, they have the Sioux killing disease, which arguably, in my opinion, is the best option they had and the best build-up to it. And if we were still on episode 2 or 3 of season 5, I would look at you hopefully and tell you that they're doing it the right way. My only real gripes with this storyline is how Butcher tried to use it in the end without telling anybody. Like, I feel like he was cool enough with Annie and Kamiko at that point to let them try to save themselves, but it makes sense overall with Butcher's narrative character, so I ain't mad at it. But yeah, that's it. I mean, overall, good show. Terrible last season, but thanks for watching my video. Put a lot of work into it. And yeah.
I'm actually forgetting something? You sure it's not like a second show, spin-off maybe, anything?
No, there's definitely no sideline series where the soup killing disease came from. No, not at all. Not at all.
Alright, man, if you say so.
Alright, in all seriousness, where the fuck was the Gen V cast at, man? They didn't even have to bring everybody, but at least Marie Moreau, like, this by far was the biggest fumble of the series. Gen V quite literally gave the boys purpose post-season 3. It became like a symbiotic relationship between the two. Marie became a pseudo-Starlighter in season 2 and spent the entire series trying to figure out Project Odessa, something Starlight put her up to. And Odessa ended up being a program showing how much of a threat Marie actually is. She could like rival Homelander one day. Considering the virus plotline was down the drain once V1 was introduced, and 2 seasons ago they already went down the Soldier Boy laser plotline, maybe this season was the one they were supposed to use Homelander's rival, who not to mention had a year-long time skip. I feel like she could have been instrumental to the final fight. If they were concerned about letting Butcher do most of the work, they could have still gave him that and swapped out Kamiko for Marie. Kamiko's only reason for being in that fight appeared at the end of the previous episode when Frenchie died. Marie's whole character really built up for this fight. Even if Marie wasn't used in the final fight, don't you think it'd be smart to keep around someone who can kill pretty much any low-level soup and revive teammates if need be? Will be helpful to keep around. Maybe they might also want a super strength move with like Hulk-level leaps. Maybe they might want someone who can read minds and do mind control at the touch of a hand. Maybe they might want someone who can shrink super small for espionage. Maybe they might want someone who has premonitions of danger. They might even want the gender swapping unit that can whip pretty much anybody who ain't Homelander on their team just for regular fights. Maybe they might tap into this elite team that they built up for 2 seasons, but no, let's just waste all the time doing whatever fuck this is. Like, They had so many opportunities to just introduce these characters to the team or show how they're involved with the team, but no, they just want to show weird sex scenes and how freaky these different soups can be. Fumble of the year, man. Last thing I want to say here. Couldn't really figure out where in the video structure to put it, so it's here at the end. But how did MM just recover from the gunshot wound? Like, he was swinging the next episode, and they never really showed him recover from getting shot in the shoulder. So yeah, but that's about it.